Test. Hey. Yeah, I had I had clicked broadcast earlier by accident because that's how I thought you got into the room. And I am here now. I have clicked broadcast. It wasn't showing up in full screen mode, so uh, I am now here live. Let me know if you can hear me or not, and if you can all hear me or whatever. Then, or maybe we'll just wait a second. Okay, everybody can hear. Perfect. Everybody sees the slides. Yeah, I'm gonna take off the headphones then, and let this let this go here. Hey, my name is Scott Tolinski, and I am here to talk about why I love Meteor. Uh, yeah, so I absolutely love Meteor. I've been working on it for a little while now. I'm going to be talking just about how long and what I've been doing on Meteor, and I'm also going to be diving a little bit into our stack. We're going to be diving into some of the small things that just make Meteor so great. So this talk will be really good for anybody who might be on the fence about Meteor. They don't understand it. They maybe don't get what it's about. But it's also going to be good for anybody who just wants to have a love fest. Everybody wants to just like uh, everybody wants to share the love of Meteor here. So let's get into it. Who am I? My name is Scott Tolinski. Again, second time. I created Level Up Tutorials and Syntax. I'm the co-host of Syntax.fm. Level Up Tutorials is a site that's built entirely on Meteor, and it is a video tutorial platform. You can see here. And actually, one of the really neat that hey, that's me. One of the neat things about this platform, besides the fact that I built it myself, is that it's fully themable. So this theme that you're seeing right here is the syntax theme of Level Up Tutorials, and it's probably my favorite theme. I almost like it more than the one that's the one that's actually on the site. So this is Level Up Tutorials. I built this site. It's currently running Meteor. It is an e-commerce platform. It is a subscription payment processing platform. There's quizzes, there's courses, there's tutorial videos, there's a video uploader. There's a lot of cool stuff. Its front end is React, but I'll get into more of that in a minute. Syntax. Syntax is a podcast that releases 2 episodes weekly, one of which is a shorter episode where we get small topics, and one's a longer episode that we call a tasty treat. It's a web developer podcast. So if you're looking for a new web development podcast with, I would say, a lot of positive energy, check out Syntax at syntax.fm. My co-host is Wes Boss, who also does some amazing web development tutorials. So if you're looking to learn some web development, check out Level Up Tutorials and Syntax. That's the two selly things I'm going to try to sell you on right now. Okay. Let's get into my journey with Meteor, because I've been using Meteor for a very long time. In fact, the first time I was made aware of Meteor was at a Southeast JavaScript meetup in Michigan. In fact, back in the day, when I was working for Ford, there wasn't a lot of meetups in Michigan for JavaScript in general. In fact, the meetup was the Southeast Michigan JavaScript meetup. Maybe there was one on the West Coast of Michigan as well, but I don't remember. Either way, there wasn't very much. So it would just be assorted JavaScript topics over the course of each month. And one month was Meteor. And it was around the time, it was pre 1.0 Meteor, but it was around the time people were starting to take notice of it. And for their demo, they did I think it was like a to-do list, standard to-do list. And you could do it yourself and follow along. And by the end of that meetup, I had uh, a to-do list with user accounts, real time, and I got to test some security aspects of it because I was posting Wu-Tang Clan lyrics into the presenters to-do list to see if they would pop up on screen, and sure enough, they did. It was fantastic. I loved it. So it was very eye-catching to me, and I hadn't been doing a lot of full stack programming. I'd done a little bit of Node and Express at the time. I was mostly on CMS based sites and was doing a lot of Angular on the front end. And so I quickly picked up Meteor and I started making tutorials on it in 2015. Just a basic video tutorials teaching you how to do all sorts of stuff. And eventually I did some video tutorials for Meteor developer groups specifically. And I have done over the course of time quite a bit of Meteor tutorials. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you have heard me talking about Meteor on YouTube before over the course of, I don't know, the past 5 years. That's crazy to say out loud. Um, but around the same time, by the way, this is a Tangerine LaCroix will be making a co-appearance in here. So around 2015, around that same time, I had built my site Level Up Tutorials, seen here. It was originally built on Drupal, um, and it was built on Drupal not because I loved Drupal. I didn't love Drupal, but I knew Drupal and I could build things pretty efficiently with it. There's, like a subscription plugin for Stripe and whatever, you just drop in stuff. It just worked, but it wasn't great. And I began to get the bug of like, maybe this could be really cool in a node platform like Meteor. It has accounts, it has real time, which I thought was very cool. It just did all these things and just felt very good. So I wrote the initial version of Level Up tutorials on Blaze and Meteor around 1.0 days. I think when it hit 1.0 is when I said, okay, I think this might be viable for me to do. So, Level Up tutorials, this exact same code base that you see today was originally Meteor version 1 with Blaze and DDP with Tracker and all that stuff, PubSub, whatever. And now it's very different, which I'll get into what it is now. And I've been involved in the community ever since, just hanging around the forums. I have committed a tiny, tiny bit of things to the actual code base, but I've definitely committed a lot in the form of video tutorials. And as I said, I've although Level Up Tutorials code base has changed quite a bit over time, I have actually tried tons of permeations of Meteor platforms, whether it's Meteor with Svelte, which is fantastic, um, Meteor with Angular, Meteor with. I actually have never used Meteor with Vue, but I have used Vue without Meteor. Either way, I've tried it a lot in a lot of different ways. So I think I have a pretty unique experience in that regard. This is our stack currently. And actually, hold on a second. I've been advancing my slides without the presenter view. Let me go back. There we go. Perfect. So this is our stack, and it's currently using Meteor. The stuff that we're using from Meteor is actually a little surprising. We're using the account system, the build tool, ISO build, and we're using the email. And we're not we're using different things for Meteor right now, but for our data, our API layer, it's all in Apollo, and it's really a pretty bare bones Apollo setup. We are using it with SSR. Um, we have done some really neat custom work on it. It's using React with server side rendering for the front end and styled components. And we actually have like a user data server side rendered accounts and all that stuff. And styled components, we also use Sass, but Sass for the global CSS, styled components for our scoped CSS. But you know what? As much as I like styled components, I don't know if they'll be there forever. I am definitely the type to change things up quite a bit. We also use Mongoose, which is kind of surprising considering Meteor has their own Mongo implementation, and their own Mongo implementation is fantastic. However, when we moved to Apollo, we thought we were having some issues with simple schema, and we thought, oh, it would be really easy to just throw in Mongoose just for their schemas, and that way we just fire up a database query and we get some of the neat Mongoose features. Not to mention, some of our developers really like using Mongoose. So this little slide here is going to go to show you that Meteor is very flexible. We'll talk about that more in a bit. For testing, we use Jest. Jest is good. There, as much as I like Jest, I think it's like a testing, just a general thing. Just tests kind of make me want to uh, fall backwards and not get back up. So testing, it is what it is. But we use Jest, and Jest is probably the best experience we've had with testing so far. And then actually the best experience we've had so far is probably Cypress, to be honest. Cypress, if you haven't checked out, is an end-to-end testing solution that uses Puppeteer, amongst other things, for the other browsers to actually give you a visual of what you're clicking around. And then you can use some testing libraries to fake click on things and actually load the site and see if there's lots of plugins, and it's very fantastic. So if you haven't checked out Cypress yet, you should. And we host on Galaxy. We've hosted on Galaxy for a long time. We host all of our environments, staging environment, all that stuff on Galaxy. It's just nice and easy. I think my favorite feature of Galaxy is the one-click rollback uh, to the previous version when you ship a bug. I like that. So yeah, we've been on Galaxy, maybe not the entire time. In fact, when we first moved to Meteor, we were on Meteor Up, and then I think it was unmaintained for a little bit. So then we went to Build Pack Horse on Heroku, and that was fine, but it was getting expensive, and there was like some little things here and there, and we are just like, you know what? If we're gonna be paying, not like a premium, but if we're gonna be paying for like a premium service, then why don't we just get closer to the metal and use Meteor's own? So that's why we moved to Galaxy and have been happily on Galaxy ever since. Okay, so that was a long-winded intro. But why do I love Meteor? Well, number one, it's fast to get started. It's very fast to get started. What's funny is that I've this GIF here is a Shaw Brothers kung fu movie, and I have seen maybe 200 of these films. I couldn't tell you what film this is from. I recognize the characters. It might be from Avenging Eagle, but I don't think it is. Either way, this is the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu GIF. So it's fast to get started. Sorry, Windows people, this is the Mac and Linux version, but you install Meteor, you create your app, and there's templates. There's lots of templates. There's templates for TypeScript. There's templates for Vue. There's templates for Svelte and React and just about anything you could want at this point. And those templates get you a long ways. You get a real-time click counter. It's fantastic. Uh, and I think that's a huge selling point to me. I mean, sure, there are platforms like Create React App and Next.js or whatever that you can get started up and running really quickly, but they don't give you the same amount of things that Meteor gives you with a simple create command. And once you're up and running, it's really insane how fast you can add stuff. From sorry, they're goofing up. So from PubSub, like the insecure mode and all that stuff, you can get started hacking away on a prototype very, very fast in Meteor. And that's just something that many people might not love, but I do love that. I love that you can fire up a Meteor instance, a Meteor crate, and just get going in no time. And you know what? If you want to rip out Meteor's data layer later, you can do that. It's not that hard. But to get up and going, to have something to show people, you can have something to show people in no time whatsoever. Number two, it's easy to learn. And I feel like I should know this because I've taught a lot of people Meteor. I've taught a lot of people Meteor through video tutorials, in person, meetups, whatever. I think it is one of the easiest to learn platforms in many regards. Now, not to say there isn't foot guns like fibers and stuff like that that you're going to hit down the line and be like, why am I getting this error? But for the most part, like I said, just even having the auto publish stuff in there by default, yes, that could be potentially a problem, right? But it allows you to learn the basics without it getting in the way. I actually have a whole conference talk that I did at it was Zeit Day, but I think it's like I don't know what it is now, but it's because now that they're Vercel, they're not Zeit anymore. Either way, it was Next.js's conference, and did a whole talk on learning fast. And one of the things that I really mentioned in there is just how important being able to have small bits to learn at once is to the learning journey of things. Because if you get too many things thrown at you at once, it's just totally overwhelming. And Meteor does a really good job of like, all right, you've gone this far. Now let's pull out auto publish and let's get into the next tidbit. Or you've gotten this far. Now let's see what this thing looks like with Apollo, right? It allows you to do it like step by step by step and really gain that experience. In general, I think the tutorials being interactive, the tutorials I've always found to be very good on Meteor's own website. I think they do a good job of giving you enough, and you can breeze through them fast enough that you can really get a good handle on. So it's easy to learn. I love it. Uh, I keep advancing the wrong slides. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Um, so I really challenge you to name one other JavaScript platform that can the end of like a 30-minute JavaScript meetup that you could have as much as you do out of Meteor. And like I said, this is how I learned it. I learned it at a meetup, but I walked out of that thing with a database and an account system in real time and WebSockets and all this stuff that I didn't necessarily understand how they fit into the big picture. But I had something and it worked good. It worked fast, and it was the most I had accomplished in one meetup I think ever. To give this a little bit of side by side. Before this, one of the speakers who was at the JavaScript Southeast JavaScript Meetup did a presentation on Node.js right when it was first brand new, and the whole thing was like, "Here's Node.js." I remember by the end of that that meetup, because so many people were having, and people weren't using Node at the time, but so many people were having issues at various points in the workflow at that time. By the end of the meetup, we had a a one route server that output hello world. That's it. And I remember just like cracking up, just being like, I don't understand why I would ever use this. This is, and now it's funny to look back at that, but like at the time, it took so long and we had such little to show for it that I felt like, man, I don't really understand why. Like maybe I'm just dense here, but I don't get why. And Meteor, I never had that experience with. So, about 5 minutes ago, and this is a true story, about 5 minutes ago, I decided to make this slide. And it's funny, we could not even in the my slides are done in code here. And so this is a React component, and I've decided it would be a fun experiment or just a fun thing for me to do here because this is live, and why not? Would be to see how many JavaScript based frameworks I could come up. But at the top of my head, live right now, I'm going to click them because there are so many of them and there's so many choices. So this is called the choice fatigue misery count. And this will tell me just how many JavaScript frameworks I can pull in off the top of my head, whether they be Node or front end frameworks. And I'm not talking about React or Vue. I'm talking about the ones on top of those. So I'm just going to go for it. Okay. So we got Next.js, we have Nest.js, we have Fastify, we have Express, we have we have Koa, we have Happy, we have Sales, we have okay. So those are the Node ones. Let's see. We have on the front end, we have um, Redwood, Blitz, we have Vulkan, Meteor based. We have how many other frameworks can I come up with? JavaScript frameworks. Mm, um, man, there's a lot, and it's escaping me. But 10 is a kind of a crazy amount already. And the fact that I named 10 of them and none of them do all of the things that Meteor does, or even things that like Rails did, right? We came from Rails. We came from Rails, and like well, not all of us, obviously, but a lot of people came from Rails, right? Or Django or any of these other frameworks at the time, or even CMSs, right? PHP stuff, uh, Code Igniter, right? A lot of people came from those things, and what they ended up on was, well, okay, I'm gonna connect this to this to this to this to this to this to this, and it's gonna be plugged in, and something's gonna break, and I'm not gonna know where it is. And I never had that feeling with Meteor, right? So there is a like a fatigue of frameworks. Everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. There's too many things. Something new comes out at any given point. Everybody complains about there being something new. That's why I love Meteor. Oh, so from the chat we have Feathers JS, which does exist. There was also Meteor and Meteor or something. Can JS. I have not heard about that one. Mithril. I remember Mithril. Do not remember Hoodie. Yes, Koa. Yeah, Koa. Yes, like Meteor, but Meteor. Yes, that was the exact slogan. So that's fantastic. But either way, there's a ton of this stuff out there, right? My favorite thing about Meteor is that you don't need to know the ins and outs of the platform before writing the code, and that's very powerful. You just go, you drop in the accounts thing, the accounts work. Did I have to personally learn how the account system works? Well, eventually, but very first and foremost, I had the UI buttons and it just dropped them in. The tough stuff is all swept under the rug, and I think that's great. Um, okay, I have a I have a really fun video. If you've seen this before, you will laugh. If you have not seen this before, you will laugh. Hopefully the audio works. So if I start playing this and the audio, it's quiet at first, but if the audio doesn't work, please let me know and I'll fix it. Either way, this kind of explains the current JavaScript ecosystem.
Just one feature. Why is this taking 3 years to go live? Look, it's not that simple, all right? I have priorities, my team has deadlines, we have other deliverables in progress.
I'm still not understanding this. Why is it so hard to display the birthday date on the settings page? Why can't we get this done this quarter?
Look, I'm sorry, we've been over this. It's the design of our back end. First we have to call the bingo service. See, bingo knows everyone's name-o, so we get the user's ID out of there. Then from bingo, we can call papaya and MBS to get that user ID and turn it into a user session token. We can validate those with Omnop, and then, once we have that, we can finally pull the user's info down from Raccoon.
Yeah, but couldn't the Raccoon team basically just...
No, Raccoon isn't guaranteed to have that info. Before we do this, we have to go to Wingman and do a query to see if the user's willing to take it to the next level, or if they're just playing the field. Now, Wingman is cool, but he doesn't store any user info himself. He has to reach out to other user info provider services, like RGS, Barbie Doll, Ringo2, BLS. But how does it know what all the user provider services are? Well, for that, it has to go to Galactus, all-knowing user service provider aggregator. And while Galactus has omniscient knowledge of all current user info providers, it doesn't have future sight or knowledge of past user info providers, so it expects a time range. To get all the current user info providers, we need to pass a time range with the current time and a time representing the end of the universe, which we get from EKS, our entropy chaos service. EKS is being deprecated at the end of the month for Omegastar, but Omegastar still doesn't support ISO timestamps like they said they would a month ago, so until Omegastar gets their fucking shit together, we're blocked. We can't get signed up for our use case, we can't use EKS, there's nothing we can do. So Galactus won't be able to find our new birthday boy provider, which means Wingman won't know how to talk to anybody, which means I won't be able to find true love and I'll die alone. I'll die alone, without ever knowing love, without ever knowing it's my birthday. We're blocked, okay? We're blocked, you sad, pathetic little product manager. You think you know what our users want? You know nothing of my pain, of Galactus's pain. You think you know what it takes to tell the user it's their birthday? You know nothing. Delivering this feature goes against everything I know to be right and true, and I will sooner lay you into this barren earth than entertain your folly for a moment longer.
All right, so clearly this is Blocker. No problem, we'll push this out another 2 to 3 years or so. Learned a lot today, love Galactus. But we'll talk next week about adding middle names to the profile. Awesome, sounds good. Take care.
I love that video. It's so real. It's so real and it hurts. You know nothing of Galactus's pain. I crack up about that all the time because we talk about these things on the podcast where it's talking about, all right, what platforms are so-and-so using or what are they using and why? And it's exhausting sometimes. And with Meteor, you have front end, you have the server side component, they talk to each other. Hey, everything works, right? So I think even along with this, it's like when there are problems and when there are issues along the line, it's so hard to even like push things out. Like they're joking about adding a thing to show if it's the user's birthday or not on that joke. And like, here's the perfect example. Here is a literal thing that happened to me yesterday, or yes, it was yesterday. Yesterday morning, Jan asked me if I'd like to try out presenting, and I said, yeah, sure. So I go to my my agenda page, and sorry about that. And on that agenda page, it had a countdown for when my talk was, and the countdown was 5 hours. till my talk. And he made a small, and I was like, oh, it says 5 hours till my talk. Can you fix that or whatever so we can try it? And as I'm sitting there, it just pops up on my screen the right time. It just fixed it. And that's like one of the coolest features about Meteor. I mean, this hot code push, it sends out fixes without the users refreshing, sometimes without the users even knowing the fix was applied. We had a whole 30-minute show on this on Syntax talking about the various ways one can update like a modern app. Like, oh, do you push out a refresh button? Do you send a little toast message that says time to refresh your page? Like, what do you do? Hot code push. It's free. It's easy. So I love that. I love that about Meteor. Um, yeah. Meteor is extremely flexible. I mentioned a little bit about our stack being very, very interesting and maybe different, but Meteor is extremely flexible. You can unplug from here and plug into there and plug. It's like a pat. You can do whatever you want with it, right? You can use it as a node server exclusively if you want for some reason. Like there are just all sorts of options. This GIF is from a movie called Kung Fu versus Yoga, and it's not a great movie, but some of the fight scenes in this movie are bananas. Like this one, I mean, he wraps his leg over his head and then kicks or headbutts. This movie is bananas. Kung Fu versus Yoga on YouTube, and you will find some of the like highlights of the fight scenes. Well worth your time. Next up, because it's flexible, it can be tweaked and customized to no end. I mentioned that you can unplug here from Blair, plug in and plug in and plug in whatever you want. Choose your fighter, as in choose your front end. Get React or Blaze or Vue or Svelte. And sorry, Angular, I left you off of here because there was too many, right? Could be Angular as well. I'm not an Angular dev, but these are the options that I've seen it be used with, and it can be very, very good. In fact, if you haven't checked out the Melt package and the entire Svelte integration, and you're looking for something very fancy, it is. It's a delight. It's very good. I really enjoy it. And it's so good. I actually I can't name another JavaScript framework that makes it this easy to not only use whatever front end framework you'd like, but plug into the system with it, whether it is UseTracker or Melt or whatever. It works really well. You can pull the data right out, and all of these different front end integrations end up working just in an insanely cohesive manner for how complex of a thing it's actually doing. And just like that, you can also mix and match with your API. At one point, see, there's DDP and tracker, which is real-time stuff. You also have methods if you don't need to do real-time stuff, which is basically just a function that you call that obfuscates a lot of the request stuff behind the scenes. You don't have to think about headers or anything. It just does the request behind the scenes. You say, I want data, it get data. You get data, everybody happy, right? And Apollo is a fantastic way too. If you want to take like really full control over that data and have a typed system up and down the stack, you can do Apollo, and bingo bango, you got types everywhere. And at one point, leveluptutorials.com was using all three of these methods at the same time, just based on different use cases. We're currently basically just all in Apollo now. And there's a little bit of GDP still in there. But at one point, we were using all three, and it worked. It worked fine. It worked great. Better than fine. It worked great. And it's evolving. We've seen, I mean, talk from Felipe just a little bit ago about the next generation of Meteor and code hot module reloading and tree shaking and those types of things. Yeah, all about that, right? And maybe one day Meteor will turn into a fighter jet. We'll see. If this preacher can turn into a fighter jet, then Meteor can also turn into a fighter jet. Look at him go. Okay. The pat. You all saw the fighter jet, right? My slides keep getting out of sync. Okay. So when Meteor first dropped, Meteor blazed trails when it was first announced, and it had a package system which wasn't really commonplace at the time. It had the automatic build tool that you just didn't have to think about, the auto publish for prototyping, Heck, I mean, even adding packages was unreal when Meteor first dropped. I mean, still, why hasn't anybody adopted that automatic package installation stuff that Meteor had? Why? Why hasn't anybody else done that? It's so good. The built-in database, hot code push. There's too many things to list here that Meteor innovated on. And in present time, it matured, it solidified, it innovated. We got dynamic imports and code splitting and feature-based bundle shipping in Galaxy and now TypeScript support. We've gotten so many cool things, Svelte support. All this stuff is arrived here. In the future, tree staking, melt, HMR, more. It's blasting off. It's turning into it's a preacher turning into a fighter jet. It's so good. Okay. Lastly, is going to be for the overall productivity that you get from Meteor. Sorry, I keep getting my slides out of sync. Apologize about that. And this is I always make up in a lot of my talks. I make up driven development because I think it's funny. Like I've had one in the past that was like hobby driven development or something. Either way, I always talk about something driven development. This time it is productivity driven development versus hype driven development. Meteor doesn't have the hype behind it. And unfortunately, that's just how it's been for a little bit. And there are many factors that have led into the lack of hype. But hype doesn't make you more productive, right? Productivity, what makes you productive? Getting things done. And I'm all about getting things done. And sometimes I want to pop open, I want to do a Meteor create, whatever, and get an app up and running with a database in no time and worry about the security stuff or worry about the stuff that I want to worry about when I'm ready to go live or when I'm not ready to go live, but ready to get it into a more mature phase where people are actually going to be using it. But if I just want to hack together a project, I don't want to spend the first half an hour of my time hacking together the system to put in the pieces so they are where they need to be. I just don't want to do that. By the time you get the thing up and running, even as a hello world, you've lost interest in it, or at least I have as somebody who is very hyperactive. So yeah, it's productivity versus hype. And for me, Meteor wins the productivity category every day of the week. What does this say in conclusion? Oh, I thought I had one more slide, and I do. I think I swapped them by accident because this is funny. So it leads into this next one, which is the hype versus productivity. I also came up with this just a little bit ago. Meteor needs more PR, leading to more PRs, which is a catchy way to say this, but we need more people talking about it. It needs to be hyped up because you can be productive with it. And I just mentioned that like it's productivity versus hype, but at the end of the day, we need more people using Meteor so that there is more energy being put into it. Because whether we like to admit it or not, Meteor has always had a PR problem since day one. Because when it dropped, it wasn't as full featured as it needed to be. And sure, it became super full featured very quickly. But by then, people had already dismissed it as a toy. And it's not a toy. It's a fantastic platform in so many ways. And it's really the PR that's happening and all of the things with the tiny acquisition right now, it's very good. But I think it needs more. It needs more people to talk about it. And so what can we do to fix this? Like, you never know, like when the next major contributor is going to find out about Meteor and be like, holy cow, I would love to iterate on this. We need to talk about it, right? We need to let the community know it hasn't stagnated. It's improved and grown every month. It's changed and evolved. It has new life and new energy being breathed into it all the time. So we need to fix the PR problem is really what it comes down to. We can't ignore that there is a problem there. So in the future, I think we need to just continue to talk about why Meteor is just amazing. Talks like this, we need to share with other people. We need to build cool things with it and share those cool things that we build with it. So here's a surfing guy and saying thank you. I do not surf, by the way, but I thought this was a nice emoji. You can find me at leveluptutorials.com, Tolinski.com, or syntax.fm. And I have a little bit more time here, so I figured for the rest of this time, it might be neat if anybody in the chat would like to ask me about Meteor or the Level Up Tutorials platform, which is built on Meteor. I have the code for the Level Up. This is the code for the site right here. So if you want to see some code or want to talk about it, uh, I am available until the end of my time here, which is within, I think it's 10 minutes here. So that's why I love Meteor. I hope you love Meteor too. And if you want to ask about my platform or syntax or Level Up Tutorials, or even heck, the Detroit Lions, I do not care. Please ask me anything. I got a question here, and it says, are you still developing your Svelte specific UI user account management? Yes, I am. The reason why I've stopped working on it, for those of you who don't know, I do have a package for an atmosphere for Svelte accounts, and it was pretty basic, but I made it for my Svelte course that, let me see if I can pull this up. I made it for my Svelte course that I'm doing on YouTube. I'm doing a free Svelte tutorial course, and here is the package. It's Level Up Svelte UI Accounts UI, and it's supposed to be a drop-in Accounts UI. One of my big pet peeves about Meteor is that the tutorials, they tell you to just drop in, like, here's this thing to drop in the Blaze accounts. Like, I don't want to add a whole nother front end framework to my front end framework here. You know, I don't want to add that much code to the front end. So I decided to take on a little bit of a project here to create a drop-in replacement for Svelte for the account system. I did put a slight pause on this because there were some developments. Odin was doing the whole melt thing, and I wanted to wait to see what was going on with the Meteor and Svelte community when I started doing this first. It was very fresh, and so I will be continuing this. I will be continuing this the moment I pick up that tutorial series again. As we all have been experiencing, COVID has really rocked us. But me specifically, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and my wife just went back to work. So I've had my hours cut basically in half. So I'm just really not able to, like, between recording a tutorial series and recording also. So on Level Up Tutorials, I record 1 24 tutorial video series every month. So I record like all day long, every day. It's a lot of stuff, right? So I'm constantly recording tutorials and doing the podcast. And then I'm the lead developer on this site. So amongst all that, I'm constantly having to code. So in my free time, which is when I was doing those videos, whenever I get free time back, that's when those will come back. Let's see. Is the video serving platform a separate app from the e-commerce subscription? No, they're all tied to, well, they used to be. In fact, I used to run 2 separate Meteor sites. One was store.meteor.com, and they both used the same database. And what was neat about both using the same database is that you could share an auth cookie between them. And if you logged into the one, it would keep you logged into the other one, right? So they used to be 2 separate platforms, but now the whole thing is tightly integrated because to view most of the content, you have to be a subscriber. So the checkout process and everything like that, it's all done entirely in Meteor. The video streaming aspect of it, the videos come from a service called Mux, M-U-X. Mux is a fantastic service. I highly recommend them. They used to be hosted on YouTube, and I would just have them be private, unlisted videos and hide them behind some auth so people wouldn't find them. I was basically using YouTube as a free video host, which is probably against the terms of service. So we moved to Mux, and Mux allows you to upload and whatever. We built our own custom video uploader, or I built my own custom video uploader for Mux, and then it does this neat on-demand streaming of the video of whatever given size any individual user would like to use. What's the most popular tech on Level Up Tutorials right now to learn? The most popular tech, I would say it's still React. React is the most popular. And we do a lot of React tutorials. In fact, advanced animating React for everyone. This one's just straight CSS. We did Sapper, design systems in Figma, React. React. Just about most of them are React. So React is definitely the most popular. The animation tutorials are very popular. We have a React in 3D series that's not showing up here for some reason. That was very popular because turns out doing 3D on the web is really, really stinking cool. So, man, if you were to combine React 3 Fiber, which is React 3D, with Meteor, you could get some really neat stuff going on. Been researching end-to-end tools. Why did you pick Cypress? Other tools like Test Cafe. Now, I have never heard of Test Cafe. I'm going to Google it right now. I don't think I had. Well, I mean, I obviously hadn't heard of it at the time, but mostly because I hadn't heard of it. Cypress, I heard of it when it first dropped, and um, to me, before that, I had done like Selenium and things like that. It having the visual with like a jQuery type code interface. Now we use React testing library for that, but at the time it just clicked, and now that they do Firefox and Edge and whatever within Cypress, I just like it a lot. It feels very nice to me. So that's why I picked it. I picked it because it was really easy to get up and running with. I'm a visual person. I really love visuals, like a browser showing me what's going on while I'm running the tests, and that's why I picked it. Are we going to hear any more podcast episodes about Meteor in the near future? I don't know. I'd like to do that. The problem is Wes doesn't know anything about Meteor. He's never used it. I think the episode with Felipe was really great because he got to hear a lot about the neat stuff it does and why it's neat. And it's not like some old platform. It's like a cutting edge platform. So I would love to do more episodes of Syntax on Meteor in the future. Maybe, hey, how about this? Meteor 2 launch. How about that? I will book it right now in my calendar that we are going to do an episode on the launch of Meteor 2 whenever that happens. I can promise that. I'll do it. Yeah, Felipe, okay. Is there a point in which keeping connections open to a large number of clients becomes a problem for a Meteor server? I don't know. I'm sure there is, but I have not hit that point. We're not using the sockets part of this anymore. I honestly don't even know what that looks like. Somebody else might be better to answer that than me because we don't rely on real time for this site. We used to use it a bit, but it was largely unnecessary, so we took it out. And that's the cool part about Meteor. Felipe says, number of connections is not a problem depending on what you're doing in terms of live queries. Thank you for that. But yeah, I think that's it. I think I've hit my time here, or just about. Maybe I have time for one last question if anybody has one, but if not, I think that might be it. Peek on the code base. Yes, this is our code base. Let's see if I can. My computer's like going real slow right now. We have broken up into two sections: the UI folder and the client folder. Inside of there, we have a lot of like internal packages. Like we have our own element system, our own hooks, our own animation system. I was just moving all of our, yes, 10 seconds of it. I was just moving all of our color variables over to HSLA and HSL today. Just because I wanted to, we had some inaccuracies in some of our colors and I wanted to make them better. So HSL for the win. If you're not up on HSL, it's hue, saturation, and lightness, meaning that you can bump up the lightness without changing the hue or saturation, giving you nice little highlights. That's it. That's all I got. Sorry, this isn't super fascinating here. This is mostly React stuff. The API sections may be a little bit interesting, but not really that interesting. Oh, we do use CodeGen. We use GraphQL CodeGen pretty significantly on the site. And it generates a ton of stuff for us for our GraphQL types. Custom types? Where is it? Types.tsx? Yeah, look at that. I'm going to be giving a talk at, I think it's Apollo Days is the conference, November 10th. I will be giving a talk. So join Apollo Days, November 10th. I will be giving a talk on how we generate all of our types and queries for Apollo with Apollo CodeGen. So that'll be cool too. thank you so much for the Meteor team having me speak at this. Thank you, everybody.